a miracle. The camera actually worked first time. Why was that? Nothing makes sense. I assume hello, one person. Can you hear me? Because I don't know if I'm using my webcam microphone or my laptop microphone. I couldn't actually reach the option to switch on the YouTube screen. I don't know why. Chat. Maybe I can see it in my. I don't know. Does it tell me? Microphone using now. Oh yeah, it's using the webcam microphone. That's good. 2 people. Hello, 2 people. What's happening? One person in the room. How's it going? What's happening? happening in the Linux world. I'm just here in my own little Linux world, making my own little program. TTYSH. Hi, voided name. Development is going okay, I think. I did some testing before I went on holiday a couple of weeks ago. I haven't done any testing in the past week, so I'm just doing some testing today. And then hopefully this week, I will do a video on it, probably through a stream. And people can play around with it. They can install it on bare metal or in a virtual machine or whatever they want to do with it. Put some pull requests or some issues or whatever. Fork it, do whatever they want with it. But I'm hoping I don't really have to do too much to it now. I think it's kind of ready, but I'm just doing a bit more testing. So I thought today I'd just, hang out in a live stream. People want to talk Linux, well, I just do a bit of testing on it. Whatever people want to do. There's a link as well in the chat if people do want to install it. So it's like, just do git clone that. But be aware, it's probably, it is. You should install on a new clean install of Arch or Artix Linux. Remember to back up your data. I don't know why I'm writing this down, but I don't know. Yeah, so I mean, I get the impression a lot of people probably try it on virtual machines first. And it's kind of the same principle if you think of what is it, Luke Smith's Labs project, which was all about having, a fully fledged graphical desktop with all of his dot files. This is kind of similar. Actually, it is similar, but it's only similar in the fact it's kind of my system configuration, but it doesn't. No, it does. Of course, it does. But it's focused on the TTY, which I think is more important because it's not really anything like this, as far as I'm aware. Because if you think about it, in recent years, what actual desktops are maintained in that are only TTY based? Because I think there was a couple of desktop projects that were like a TUI or a frame buffer in the TTY, but a lot of that stuff I don't think is maintained anymore. But this is what I use day in, day out, so it will be maintained. The only difference now, the reason I'm talking about this in more recent times is because when I first had this, I had it as a GitHub project for myself, really, without any real configuration. Well, it had a configuration option, but I kind of left it incomplete. I went down a configuration route that was just too much to maintain. It's very boring, really, talking about it. But now what I've done is, rather than generating a lot of the configuration files, so to speak, which was a pain, I was trying to be too clever about it, really. now a lot of the configuration files are in the git clone. So when you clone the the project, most of the, if you like, dot files and all this are just packaged in there. It does generate a few things when you do the config. So there we go. Yeah, so I'm just going to chat to me if you want. If you've got any Linux questions, I'm just doing some testing in the background, so I will be looking at the chat. I might show it off. I don't know. I'll see how well this goes, and then I might show it off. I haven't used anything remotely similar. Quite young, and I'm just used to the default desktop experience. Okay. Well, one thing as well about what I've made is a very deliberate decision to really, as you use it, being prompted on how to use it, which I mean by the instruction manual is kind of built in, because there's a lot of different parts of the desktop, if you like, of the TTY desktop in it. I always feel awkward explaining it as a desktop, because people assume a desktop is going to be a graphical user interface, and of course this is a text-based interface, not even technically a TUI interface, but with obviously packages that might be a TUI, might be graphical with a frame buffer, but along the way it should give you instructions or prompts and confirmations on how to use it. And the reason is because this isn't like to hold your hand. It's actually, I think, an intuitive way to use this desktop experience on the TTY, because personally I don't remember certain commands or certain things, and because it's looped, it runs as a a permanent loop effectively until you quit the program. So it basically, it's got a help page that you can open at any time. You choose what you want to run. So I don't know, say you want to run a calculator or your email or whatever. It might just open up, say, the email client, but or it might just say, probably not good examples. Say you want to do your backups, whatever, it will ask you to generate, say, a disk if you haven't got a disk. But it will give you instructions. It's not just, okay, you got to read some man page. I feel it's intuitive, because if you want to learn, say, all the commands of Linux, you go into a man page, right? This is a program that is intuitive. It's instructive in the sense that if I'm using it, I can't remember all the stuff to do something. So it will say to me, to do this, press this key. These are the options. Probably not. It's really awkward to explain it, because it's not really like a desktop in that way. Anyway, I haven't explained it very well, but you know it when you see it, and I'll hopefully show it off in a bit. Hello, just noticed your stream on YouTube feed. Never heard about TTYH, to be honest. Just checked it out. Seems cool. Yeah, so if you do follow my channel, you probably have heard me mention it. However, I haven't, like I said earlier, gone into it, because when I first started talking about it, I had a config for it, and it is a project on GitHub, in theory, for people to use. The problem was maintaining the config was a pain, because I was trying to be too clever maintaining the config. So the whole idea of my original idea of the config was it would generate in the script, or the TTYSH program, if you run it the first time, it would actually generate all the files, rather than being packaged with the files, which I now do. It's just a better way to do it, obviously, an obvious way. I was just trying to be too clever because I thought, oh, hey, wouldn't it be nice to have literally one file that generates all the other files? But it was just too much to maintain. So that's why I never really pushed it. And I've been developing it over the last couple of years for myself. And now I feel it's kind of at a place where, I don't know, some people might find it useful. But yeah, so like I said to Voided Name earlier, I'm still doing some testing on it. So that's also what the stream's about. I'm just going to be doing some testing in the background. I might show it off if I think it's worth showing off. And then in the future, I might do a video. Who knows? If I feel it's ready today, I might just go through it. And then I'll just turn that into a video on my channel in the future. Who knows? Exciting. Who knows? But like I said to Voided Name, if you want to talk, don't worry about me testing. I'm just going to be doing it in the background. I will be looking at chat while it's doing certain things. So if you want to ask questions, are you going to ask questions about TTYSH? I'll probably do my very worst at explaining it, or just Linux in general. I think people really getting used to flashy desktops, window managers on Linux nowadays. Yeah. Well, it's not necessarily a counter to the modern desktop specifically, but it is definitely my sensibilities. If you watch my channel, you will know that really a lot of the TTYSH desktop experience, or whatever you want to call it, I've kind of covered in videos. So the kind of things that I have are included in the TTYSH, and you can look at my previous videos to see that. One of the other things is it's like future proofing. So I like old ThinkPads. Might be a bit of a cliche with some Linux people, but I don't really like working with modern laptops. The obvious problem is that modern desktops just kill older computers, even Linux desktops, which is fine because obviously it's a whole graphical desktop and it's been developed and it's using new libraries. What I like about the TTY, or what I like about the command line, for example, or the Linux console, is that it's timeless. The core utils, most of the infrastructure, bash, shell, doesn't have so many dramatic changes. And what's nice about that is, apart from the syntax, apart from future compatibility, the thing runs like lightning. So if you're on old hardware or new hardware, there's effectively consistency of speed. So you can run this on, say, a 20-year-old ThinkPad, and the thing should run lightning fast. If you're running on a 1-year-old ThinkPad, the thing will run lightning fast. The other thing to say is that, well, the kind of desktop environment I'm creating should give you all the, when I say, I'm not even saying this in the sense of like being modest, but it should give you the base functionality of a desktop. But actually, if I was being conceited or arrogant, well, not arrogant, but I would say this actually has a lot more functionality than, say, installing the GNOME desktop. Because if you look at I did a video on this a long time ago. If you look at what's shipped with a base GNOME desktop, not a lot really. But you've got this whole dramatic graphical interface. Now, obviously, if you're using the GNOME desktop, you're going to be installing all kinds of programs, I don't know, OBS or I know Discord and whatever. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be about doing OBS and Discord. I know I'm streaming, but this is just for the YouTube channel, on the browser. But my point is that TTYSH has a huge amount of functionality out of the box, and it's almost exclusively from the teletype terminal, the Linux console. There is one big issue, which is an obvious issue, is web browsing, which is a huge part of people's desktop experience. So what I've done as well is, because again, this reflects my own usage, and I'm not so arrogant to not include this, but I do include X11, I do include Wayland, I do include like the LibreWolf web browser, I believe. And out of the box, there is a function in the TTYSH to open up X11 with my sort of configuration, and you can run a web browser. TTYSH still works in X11. It's run on Xterm rather than obviously the Linux console. So you're not losing, if you like, graphical user face into you're not losing the ability to run X11, Wayland, or web browsers. I do include Browse, the web browser, which is a graphical web browser, and the TTY, the Linux console. I've done a video on this. It's been videos done on Browse over the years. It's perfectly usable in the crudest sense, but it's not really a replacement for, say, LibreWolf, Firefox, or Chrome, whatever. My idea in the near future is to have a curated list of base websites or Gopher sites for the Lynx browser. So if you look up the Lynx browser is a text-only browser. However, and I've done videos on this before, I'm not necessarily in favor of the Lynx browser. I'm not necessarily in favor of text browsers. I'm not some kind of arbitrary ideologue on not using a graphical user interface browser like Firefox or Chrome with the full functionality. But there might be a case for, in the future, because of the way the web has gone, and just accepting that the web is really an unpleasant experience, which I mean by using it, that it's keyboard driven, it's mouse driven, even with like was it Vimium extensions or Vim Vixen extensions, and obviously all the JavaScript stuff. So my feeling on web browsers is that it's kind of accepting limitation, which isn't desirable. And again, I'm not going to make a point of excluding anybody using a graphical web browser, because I will still have to use it myself. But giving people an option of like a curated Lynx experience, Lynx browser experience, or text browser experience with websites that people would probably use, like news, weather. Obviously, YouTube's not going to be in that mix, but if you're in the know about using the terminal, and if you're in the know about YouTube, I won't say any more. Not having YouTube in the web browser is not necessarily a problem. However, my idea is, again, having like a curated list of either websites or Gopher sites on the Lynx browser that give you some kind of base experience of information on the web, but not being an absolutist, so you can't ever use the web. Again, it's trying to give you as much functionality as possible in the Linux console, giving you speed, giving you actually things you perhaps don't have automatically in your GNOME or KDE. And really, X11 or Wayland or even the graphical web browser is not like a last resort, but almost compartmentalized in the sense that it's not an essential part of your desktop experience. And that's to, again, sort of future-proof your laptop. So if you have a laptop that you really like, so you've got an old ThinkPad, maybe you're like myself, you've got an old ThinkPad, you like the old ThinkPad, you like being able to interchange the parts, you like being able to upgrade it with what you can, with what's available, and you don't want to have to settle for a modern laptop. So that again is the kind of future-proofing idea, but again, it's not about also really making compromises, because personally, if you've got a, say, a 64-bit 15-year-old ThinkPad, right? If you use TTYSH, use Arch Linux or Artix Linux, use TTYSH, you configure it, it does the automatic configuration, you start using it, it should be like that, and you should be getting a lot of stuff that you would normally use in a desktop on the Linux console, not in the graphical environment. And then even if you need the graphical environment, it will be minimal, it will be fast. So you'll have the you'll be using Xterm, you'll be using I mean Xterm is fast. You'll be using the i3 window manager, LibreWolf, which has nice defaults for, you know, privacy, for things, you know, and whether you're using the latest computer or the oldest computer, the experience should be like that. Or, and again, I'm not ragging on GNOME or KDE, but whatever computer you're using, this should be one of the fastest experiences. That's my feeling about it. And also intuitive. You don't have to go through loads of manuals. The manual happens as you use it. And I use this myself because I can't remember everything about commands and whatever. It's intuitive. Something I need to show you. So once I've done some testing, I'm sure I'll do it in, you know, a video on it. I'm sure it's good enough to do a video on it now. So who knows? On this stream, I'll probably do a video on it. Yeah, I've been watching your channel for a while now. As myself, I'm using Void Linux with DWM. I don't think that's a huge problem. I should definitely try your TTYSH on a VM. Please do. Iron Fist, hello. Hello, Iron Fist. Yeah, so anybody's just dropped into the room. So I've just doing a bit of testing on TTYSH. You know what? Maybe I should just share my screen. So yeah, I'm doing some testing on TTYSH, which is this program that I've been using for the last couple of years. I've done a update on the config because the config was kind of broken. I've been doing some testing on it. I'm doing some testing on it now, and who knows? It might be ready to actually showcase today, or to recommend people use it. But that's probably going to be the most minimalistic desktop experience. Well, this is the thing. Yeah, yeah. So it does idle very low. So yeah, 150 to 200 meg, even with, you know, being an X11 using i3, it's very light. You might assume as well certain things. So, you know, if you're from like the Luke Smith perspective, right? Of course, it's all about using Suckler Software ST Terminal, DWM. I don't use those on this for a couple of reasons, which I've covered in videos before. I have no problem with DWM. I have no problem with ST Suckler Software. It's all great. I've used it in the past. I like it. But I do have a principle where I think using your package binaries that are maintained specifically by the maintainers as binaries is the best way to go for critical pieces of software, such as your terminal and your window manager. And also because I like it all like together, being maintained together, which might seem ironic because of course TTYSH is a script or a program that you have to git clone or whatever, but who knows, maybe somebody one day will actually package it in the Arch Linux Arch user repository, so that'd be funny, wouldn't it? But here's the other thing. The whole point of here's another thing. The whole point of using TTYSH is it sets up the AUR, the Yay package manager, and install stuff from the AUR anyway. So yeah, Cosmic Beta. Whoa, nope. How much does that thing? Out of curiosity, I didn't like watch the Brody Robertson stream about the beta. How much does that thing idle at? Is it like, it must be like 3 or 4 gigs or something? Is it like almost like Windows 11? Sorry, I'm ragging on it. I know I'm so harsh, but here's the other thing. This probably sounds really arrogant. I know it sounds arrogant, but like who? I know all the arguments about Rust. I know the arguments about window tiling in a desktop environment, which to me is just like, what the hell? It doesn't even make sense. But honestly, and again, this is like counterintuitive because of Linux. Is like, well, you can have anything you want, right? Anybody can make anything they want with Linux. You can have 1,000 different desktop environments, 1,000 different window managers. That's fine. I'm not against that. But in all seriousness, do we really want another generic? Okay, that sounds really arrogant. Generic desktop experience. And I'm not an engineer, right? I'm not really, I'm not a programmer. I can do some C programming, and obviously I know Bash and Shell. But I'm more of an principles and ideas person. And in my mind, do we really want and need yet another desktop environment that's so heavily promoted, that's so really just a continuation on a theme? And this is not to say TTYSH is the best thing ever, but I just feel like I'm trying to do something different here. I'm trying to do something that isn't necessarily isn't seen before, or like I said, do you know of any Linux console TTY desktops or window managers or TUI environments? No, it's all just window managers and desktop environments now. The Linux console is effectively been ignored because it's just assumed all you need it for is servers, which I think is crazy. But I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. So, and again, this isn't like theory. This isn't playing at it. This is what I use effectively every day. This is my general experience on a desktop. And yes, this is a desktop environment, or if you like, this is how I run my desktop. I don't do it with KDE. I don't do it with GNOME. I don't do it with even a window manager, so to speak. Yes, I have a window manager. Yes, I do have to use the graphical user interface, but principally, I use a Linux console and TTYSH, and I can do, this might be an exaggeration, but 90% of what I need to do. Everybody's going to be different, of course, because some people really are so heavily invested in their browsers. I know that, but I don't know. Suckless software is more like DIY than maintained piece of software. I've been thinking for a while to switch on BSPWM. Yeah, I patched DWS to one itself almost fully pleased me. Problem with BSPWM isn't maintained anymore. Well, going back to Brody, wasn't there a time where he used Awesome Window Manager? which I think is maintained, but I don't know. Which I think is like a similar thing, because I'm talking about i3 or Sway, and I'm not actually a huge fan of either, but they're maintained. They're in the repositories. They're well used. They don't tend to break, as far as I can see. Never had a problem with i3 or even Sway. But, and I'm not, this is another thing. I always feel like in my mind, I need a tiling window manager, for example, rather than a manual window manager. But to be honest, I never feel I ever use, I don't feel I ever use tiling window manager, actual dynamic tiling window manager. You know, we got all the configuration spirals. There might be exceptions where I need that, but to be honest, I'm very much a one screen type of person. If I need splits, I will use splits. I'll just have 2 tiles split vertically or horizontally. And of course, if I really needed some dynamic splits, I guess I'd just use something like GNU Screen. I don't know. I always feel those splits sound, or sorry, I always feel like dynamic tilers are a nice thing to have, but a pointless waste of time. That's how I feel about it. I sort of go with the Primogen sort of one screen at a time idea, but I don't use TMUX specifically. I would use GNU Screen if I was doing it like that. Or if you're using TTYSH, you'd use Virtual Console 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. And I need to do a video on that because I think it's something most people know, but in Vim, of course, say you're in Vim and you want to switch Virtual Console, of course, you can use the command line in Vim. And that was just going to be a little video I was going to do showing you how, if you're in Vim, because of course you don't want to have to use Alt F1, Alt F2, Alt F3 to change. You can just literally open up the command line in Vim. So colon, bang, and then you just put a command. So you put chvt, say 2, you change to the Virtual Console 2. There we go. If you're listening to this going, what the hell is he talking about? I need to do a video on it to show you. It's quite a simple thing, but it's just a nice little thing. But the problem with BSPWM, it isn't maintained anymore, as I know. Oh yeah, sorry, I already covered that. Did I say about that? Yeah, so Awesome WM, Iron Fist. I think he uses Hyperland. Is that a WM? So this is my understanding. I do watch his videos. So he was using, so going way back, he first used i3. Then he wanted a dynamic tiler, so he used DWM for a very brief time, basically copying Luke Smith. Then he used BSPWM, I believe. Then he used Awesome Window Manager. Then he was starting to use Wayland for a bit, so he used Sway very briefly. Then he used Hyperland. No, was it Hyperland next? I think, funny enough, he went back to X11 and used Awesome WM again, I think. Or he might have used Awesome WM after Sway. Maybe use Sway between Awesome WM and BSPWM. God, don't you hate saying these acronyms? Acronyms, yeah. And then he used, used Hyperland, not for too long. Then he used KDE. He decided he was going to use a desktop because KDE was at Plasma 6 came out. He wanted to show that off. Then he kept talking about Cosmic, obviously. So he's been not really using Cosmic, I think, but like testing it. And then recently he's been using this thing called Neary, which is a Wayland what does he call it? It's like a scrollable window manager. Kind of cool, to be fair. So it's like it's like a consistently scrolls windows, I think. How to explain it? You'd need to watch his video on it or look it up. But yeah, Neary. There you go. Neary window scrollable manager, or whatever it is. It's basically a window manager, but it's like one screen and all your windows scroll across the screen. You can like search through them. You know, if almost think like the old Alt Tab on Windows, but more intuitive than that, I guess, or like Vim key bindings or whatever. And you can do screen splits and whatever. It looks, to be fair, it looks kind of cool actually. It's probably maybe the most optimal idea. Maybe I'll use it one day. I don't know if I'm using Wayland anyway. All right, let's see what's happening. Yeah, so like I said, I'm doing a bit of testing at the moment, and you can't see it on the screen, but it all seems to be going okay. I feel like I should share my screen. I feel like I'm holding back on you, but I don't know. Should I show you? Okay, I'm going to show you a bit of what I'm doing. Share the screen. Entire screen. Okay. Right, so what I'm doing here is I'm just generating the scheduler. So I'll show you in a minute. Good. So what month? In 10, aren't we now? Move this out of the way. It's all looking good. Interesting. Sixth today, that's right. Interestingly, it's got. What has it got there? Second and 9th. Oh, that's why. That's why it's not showing. Testing. There you go. No. 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 So what's happening here? Oh, it's working now. That's a weird one. It's a weird one. Don't know why. Bit of a bug there. I think it's going to be great to make a USB stick sort of distribution with TTYSH. Yeah, thanks. I have sort of thought about like having it as an ISO, but I guess on this regard, I've sort of gone the Luke Smith kind of route. I don't really want to have to maintain like an ISO, but anybody who's course is welcome to. For example, if I make this video on this in the near future, and somebody's like, I want to package this in a distribution course, that'd be great. Who knows? You never know what people want to do with things, but yeah. So I'm not going to be doing a video on this yet, but I will just give you a little heads up on how this works. So I've git cloned the. So let's get rid of that. So this is just a testing virtual machine here. So what I've done is I've git cloned my project. So this would be a clean install of Arch Linux. So if you go onto my like original videos, for whatever reason, if you don't know how to do a clean install of Arch Linux or Artix Linux, well, I haven't done one on Artix Linux, but you know, there's loads of videos out there, or you know, just follow the manual page, the Arch wiki or the wiki for Artix Linux. Then once you've got that fresh install, you'd need to install Git. So again, this is not the video on this, so I'm guessing you've got some understanding. So you'd obviously update your packages after the new install. You'd then install Git, and then you'd git clone my project here, which is at GitHub, then my name, GitHub /ttysh.git, and then that will clone the project. So you can see here TTYSH. Okay, so you go into TTYSH / let me just show you, there's all the various stuff in here. You'd / TTYSH. The first time it might not look like this. It probably won't, because it will run the configuration which installs various packages. But once you've configured it, or it's done its configuration, you reboot your computer, it will look something like this. Hit Q to continue. Now remember, what you saw there was was graphical, but this is all in the Linux console, right? So if I do if I do echo term, it's Linux, it's the Linux console, right? So if I do TTY, we're in TTY1. There's no X11 running here. So again, this is MPV. Okay, that's all this is. It's MPV in the frame buffer doing this. Okay, so if I do, so this is running after I've done the configuration. Okay, so need a S TTY. Oh, it's just going to run it again, isn't it? Anyway, so it just clears the screen. So again, this is just all text-based. That's the thing. It's supposed to run like lightning. Obviously, I'm in a VM, so you're going to have a bit of lag. I've got, you know, I'm screen sharing, all this kind of thing. So the first option here is SH, right? Schedule. So that's probably what you were looking at me do earlier, okay? Well, the first time you run this as well, it will run through like a config as well, because it's setting up certain things, okay? So the first thing it will do, it doesn't need to set up, is your calendar. It will know your calendar, right, from the date command, so, or the cal command, sorry, CAL command, okay? This is the calendar. Now I've set this up. So what it does is this is a text file, right, with my calendar. So if you look, it's like so many days before, so many days after. So if you ever used like Google Calendar, this is a similar kind of principle. Okay, this is your schedule or the stuff you have in your calendar. Now this is running in less, so you can You might have quite a lot of stuff in here, so you can use the J and K keys in like Vim, or the up and down arrow keys to go up and down your file. So obviously, if you're in less, you just hit Q, and that will then exit less. And now a prompt comes up. So this is, like I was saying, this is instructing you what to do next. Okay, so it's holding your hand, but this is how I use it as well. This is not, you know, some arbitrary Unix situation where you've got to put in command and flags and all this and read the man page. This is a unique thing. Obviously, I like Unix operating systems, but this is, again, how I actually use it. I can't remember everything. You know, do I really want to run, you know, find my text file or some? Do you see what I mean? This is like a desktop environment, you know, but on text console. We need a new definition for this, because what is this? Again, this is not really, there's not really anything like this, I don't think, anyway. So do I want to edit my calendar? Okay, so maybe I do. So let's say on the 9th of the 10th, I've got something happening. Sorry, Americans, this is in UK formatting. So 09 is the 9th day of the 10th month. So I do apologize if you want it the other way around. Maybe you could fork it and have your own American equivalent. Anyway, so let's say I need to meet with Bob. And then maybe on the 10th, I need to buy a new ThinkPad. And I don't know, on the 12th, I need to do another live stream. Okay, so we're in Vim at the moment, right? So if I hit escape, obviously, you know, the Vim commands. So there are certain things I can't hold your hand. What I will say is, if you need to learn how to use Vim, you need to learn how to use less or something, you know, you will have to have some understanding of Linux. Obviously, if you've got Arch Linux installed, you're probably going to know how to use Linux anyway. So I'm going to right quit out of that. Now, if you look, it's updated. So on the 9th, on the 10th, on the 12th, it's got my new calendar, right? As you can see, it's written it and updated it, okay? And again, it will ask you, do you want to run your calendar again? Or do you want to edit your calendar again? No. So we're going to move on. So now it's gone into notes. So again, this is in less. It shows you the directory here. Do you want to edit your notes? Yeah, we're going to edit our notes, okay? So one of my things, let's do testing some more TTYSH, okay? And then what else do I need to do today? Let's say cook dinner. What else do I need to do? I don't know. Read a book. Okay, so if I hit escape, I'm in Vim again, of course, and I right quit. It gives me a summary of my notes. Again, if you have a huge amount of notes, it's paged into less, so you can use the J and K keys if you need to. Now, obviously, I'm at the end here, so I can just hit Q. Do I want to edit it again? No. Now, another thing is, I want to see the weather again, because this is like a scheduler. So what's going to happen now is, do you want to update the weather file, right? So let's say I want to update where I am. Say I'm in London, okay? I type in London, and now I get my weather forecast. Again, all in the Linux console. This is using WTTR.com, which is well known for being, you know, how a lot, you know, people, you know, Luke Smith used it, various people used it. But again, this isn't on Xterm, or this isn't on ST, this is just in the Linux console. So there we go, I've got my forecast. Now with the weather one as well, if you hit no, it will actually save this output into a file. So it will just give you, because maybe you have an issue with the internet, but you'd still want to see the weather. It will just show up the weather, because it will actually save, this output has now been saved into a file, okay? I think it's been teed into a file or directed into a file. So the next time I run weather or a scheduler and I hit N, it won't obviously update from the internet, but it will show this previous, or this last time I ran this command again, okay? Now I've obviously got an RSS reader. I've got Newsboat, whatever. So you can run it. Now I give an option here to run it in a split screen with a shell. The reason being is actually I don't know why. Sometimes I just like to have split screens. So you don't have to have a split screen. So if I hit yes, okay, that's good. I know there's an issue with that, so I need to test that. So I will do some tests on that in a minute. So let's just come out of this. Is it broken it? Let's run it again, but without GNU screen. Okay. So I'm going to run it without. So as you can see here, I've got my YouTube on the RSS, and as you can see, these are the feeds. So these are all my videos, and you can go up and down and whatever. Newsboat, right? So that's just showing you my latest videos, okay? And then I can queue to quit out of that. Do I want to run it again? No. And then we're just back to like the default selection screen. So again, I give instructions as you use it. So you can enter a selection. You might know the selection, right? So if I hit, I don't know, W for weather, I think that's weather. Is it weather? There you go. You might know it off the top of your head, whatever the selection is. And then do I want to run it? I hit no, so it didn't update it. It just took my last saved weather output, okay? And again, then it goes back to selection. So sometimes I can't remember various things. Oh, how do I get to this? So I can hit H, and then there's a little instruction at the top, and you've got all these different things. So you've got file manager, CMOS. So maybe you want to play some music. So if I type, okay, CM without screen, whatever. So I hit CM, and that opens CMOS. And obviously I haven't got any music in here. This is just a fresh install, but you put your music in. I've done a video on CMOS, so you do, I don't know, add, home, music, whatever. Okay, but I haven't got any music, so I'm going to quit out of that. So if I go H again, you might want to search PDFs. You might have saved articles, or you've got various things here. You can play videos, search videos on YouTube. When I say search videos on YouTube, I'm not going to say using the official web browser, of course. You can screenshot the TTY, you can record your TTY. If you're in X11, you can record that. You've got writer, you've got spreadsheet, you've got a calculator. There's your calendar, schedule, notes, date, running backups, change, your VT. So was it V2? So now I'm in TTY2. So we'll go back. What else? And change my font. So if I do FO, put my password. So I don't know, you might want to set a font, queue out of that. Again. Could start up X11 using split screen. So I do SRE. There you go. I've got a 4-way split. I do I've done that one. 2-way split. Let's see, is that 1-way? No, can't remember. So again, there's all kinds of things here. You can restart your computer, shut down your computer. Again, like you would on a desktop. You can lock the console. There you go. The console's locked. Got file manager, which is just Vim's file manager. So there we go. Some files in there. I can go into, .config, i3. Again, you know how to use Vim's file manager. I need to, obviously, if I had videos saved, I could search. So I could do T, search for a video. Obviously, I haven't got any videos on here at the moment. And you can just queue out of that. Again, it gives you instructions. You go, if you want to see if you've got an internet connection, hit I, ping that. If you've got your email, just hit E. I haven't got the inbox set up on here, obviously. New install. If you need browse, you've got browse. So if I hit BRO, okay, that didn't work. So that's another thing I've got to look at. Prefix search. Okay. I need to make a note of this. So, testing today, TXT, browse. Need to look at browse. What was the other thing I had to look at? Something wasn't working. Oh yeah, RSS feed on GNU screen split wasn't working, so I need to look at that. Why browse isn't working? Browse command not found. Maybe there was an issue installing it. Browse working? No. Browse isn't working, so maybe there's an issue with browse. Okay. So maybe after all, I do need to just settle for links. Web browser. There you go, you got links. Now I've got links here. It's like a offline browser as well. If you hit save web pages, it gives you a little instruction here. I don't know. You can load bookmarks. So if I do BO, we'll create your bookmark, add your bookmarks manual, or export them to LibreWolf. If export to update, run the book command. So I don't think there's anything in there at the moment, but I could manually add. Something. I'll probably show that in a video. Again, there's not various things populated because, of course, I haven't got any videos saved in here. So this is again just me testing, but showing. So you can fuzzy search files to open in Vim. If that works. FZ. I don't know. What would I? So I could open bash rc. I could open up that in Vim. So I fuzzy search that. Just quit that. Quit that. Yeah, I've got. So if you need to set up your email, if you hit MU, you put in all your IMAP and STMP, whatever, you know. Again, this is MUT-RC, so the MUT email, so you can use it on the TTY. I've got a split screen on there if you need to reference anything on another pane or another panel. I don't know if that's necessary, but I just like having that option. Maybe I should literally simplify it. I don't know. So you can search files and delete them. So if I deleted, I don't know, .notes, hopefully this works. Type yes. There you go. So I've removed the notes file, so you can just, you know, literally delete whatever. Let's quit that. You can remove white spaces from file names. You'll probably need to test. I don't know if that's literally working. I'm going to put that in things to test. Test white space removal. Just look to the chat. Text top environment. I love that. That's actually really good. Thanks, STR split. Hi, Sahil. Astral T. Now CMOS as well, you've got CMOS control. So if you want to play another song, so let's say we're running CMOS in the background. So if I do CMU, I do Control AD to detach from screen. CMOS is still running, right? So if I do HT for HTOP, so that was all in TTYSH. You can see CMOS is running. So I can, assuming I had music playing, hit P for pause, NE for the next song, ST for status, what's playing, Q to whatever. So you can do all kinds of stuff. I feel like maybe I should remove certain things. So I don't really use some of this. I use PDF, so I can fuzzy search PDFs. I don't think I've got any PDFs, of course. Let's Q out that, Control C. So that's like using CMOS without GNU screen, CMOS with screen, you can reattach screen. So if I do AU, let's set some automatic ALSA stuff. I can increase the volume. So INC, and then how did I do? If you notice, I'm hitting help a lot because again, I can't remember, you know, and that's the whole point. If you like, I'm using my own man page to put in commands, right? Can't even find it now. Not that intuitive, is it? There we go. And then LOL for lower. So I'm lowering the audio. I can hit AL for the ALSA mixer. Escape out of that. If I hit vid, that would just play all the videos in my folder. I haven't got any videos. I can list videos. So it's looking in the videos directory. Again, I've got a split pane here. Do I really need that? Maybe not. Maybe I'll take some of this stuff out. I don't know. Or whatever. Or give people options. Don't know. Don't know. So I've got a spreadsheet, which hasn't worked. I wonder if that was because it timed out. Don't know. Don't know. Obviously got some more testing to do. Nothing seems to have installed from Yay package manager. Maybe there's a problem. So the only problem with Yay is when I notice when there's certain updates, it can break, but whatever. Use backup, create backup. So I've done videos on that as well. This just automates it. I think it works fine. Famous last words, but I need to test that, which I think I can do through virtual machines. What else we got? So if I hit S, I can go into X11. As you can see, I'm in TTYSH. I can run that. There you go. TTYSH. So I'm running it in X11. So if I ran, again, you know, it just works the same. So if I hit DV for devices, so show network devices, as you can see, network devices. I can queue out of that. What else? Got fan control on ThinkPad. So certain things are ThinkPad specific. Update the system. You. Just going to update system. Update that. And it just gives you an instruction. Yeah, now it hasn't installed Yay. And I don't know if that's because it timed out. But here's another thing you can do. Okay. So let's come out of that. So if I hit X, I can quit X11. Okay, and I'm back onto TTYSH, but on the TTY. Now, if I type TTY, this resets TTY, okay? Now, if I hit config, I can literally do the whole config all over again, I believe. So I don't know if it's going to ask about yay. Installing Go. I don't know what happened there. Reinstalling Go. So it's going to basically redo everything. Yeah, it already says not an empty directory. Okay. Okay. Right, let's try this. Okay, so it's installing yay now. So maybe that's why. Hi, Tiger. What are the tricks for WordPress websites? What do you mean? So I'm going to let it do that stuff, and then we're going to try out some things again. Just going to string for a minute. Yes, there's a little taster of TTYSH. As you can see, I still need to do some testing on it. Still need to work on it. Maybe make some choices as well about. I feel kind of like, so I've used, like you saw, I've got GNU split. GNU screen doing splits on certain things, which I don't really use, probably aren't necessary. So I might just leave that as an option where you can split the screen if you want. I know I just found it useful sometimes to have in the splits. So I had like another bash shell below, but I don't know. It's just a bit of a faff really. So I might change that. And I like the idea of a text top environment. My only thing with that is I don't know. I just want something that's like literally succinct though, that just describes it. That does sort of describe it, but like, I don't know. Because here's the thing, here's the problem with all this. Now, text top is actually a great description in many ways, but I feel like using any sort of part of desktop in the vocabulary is, I don't know. Text top, no, it is a good description. Don't know. Anyway, any questions? What's happening in the Linux world? I haven't really been well, I have been up to date with the Linux world, but I don't find it that interesting. The desktop Linux world, is it interesting to anyone? Is Cosmic interesting to anyone? I guess it is, because there's millions of, well, I don't know millions, but I'm sure many thousands who can't wait for it. Yeah, I rarely read Linux news. What do you think about Ubuntu putting Rust in the core utils? Well, that has been in the news. Of course, there's been all kinds of videos on that. Now, I don't know, does anybody here watch Sylvan Franklin? he's not technically a Linux YouTuber, but he basically uses the whole Unix environment, Vim, and all this kind of stuff. Anybody know I'm talking about? Sylvan Franklin? And now he's a developer, and I think it's quite interesting to watch him. But he did a video very recently, I think it was only a day or so ago, about is it the UUtils? Something to do with some kind of some kind of Rust rewrite of a GNU core util, right? And he's actually done like Rust rewrites in the past. What was interesting about it is, and this is sort of my feeling, when you really think about it, what are you adding to the Linux and software world? Now, you often hear the argument, this is making it memory safe because it's written in Rust. Why shouldn't anybody have a Rust rewrite? And I think all those arguments are technically true, but in your sort of heart of hearts, right? If you are a software developer, why the hell? Why do we need? Really think about it. Why do we need another version of this program? Is it touching the internet? Is it really memory safety critical? Why does it matter? Why not make some new software? Why not make something novel or original? Why have we got to have this series of Marvel characters, or what I have to put it? Why do we need to? Why do we need to almost like franchise existing software in different software languages? Now, if this is your pet project, right? This is you trying to work out how to learn Rust. That's fine. But what was interesting, what he said about it, which I agree with, is why has this thing got like 17,000 stars on GitHub? It's a freaking rewrite of a program that's existed forever, that had always done the job, that didn't have any real safety issues. Yes, there are exceptions. I know sudo has had some critical bugs, but there is doas, right? Which has a much smaller footprint. If you really are worried about sudo, use doas. But the whole uutil suite, it is just an overreaction, an extraordinary amount of effort that's not really needed. Write some new software, write some really original software, novel software, fix issues that actually exist, not creating new issues that don't. I'm not even against, some of the things that have come out in that Linux news where people have, given it some of these utils a hard time because they've got bugs, right? And laughing at them because, hey, it's written in Rust and it's got bugs. I'm not even having a go at that, because sure, it's new software. Even if it's a rewrite, it's going to have bugs. Of course, it's not going to be performant yet. My issue is the premise is we don't need these damn things, okay? It's not even, to me personally, it's not even interesting. Okay, I'm not a programmer, but it was interesting. Sylvan Franklin is a developer, programmer, and his perspective was very much like, you're just creating software that not just doesn't need to exist, because again, it's like when I was going back, Cosmic doesn't need to exist, right? In a way, my small program TTYSH doesn't need to exist. But all I would say is, at least try and do something that hasn't been seen before. Try and create something novel, interesting, even if it doesn't have a use case. But just having iterations of the same kind of stuff, particularly trying to fix problems that don't really exist. It's just, I don't know, to me, it's kind of like laughable, the attention they get. And I know it's part of, people's favorite languages and whatever. As a programmer myself, I can say we don't need to rewrite existing software, but we need memory safe languages because of the human factors. It doesn't matter how much skilled programmer you are, it's just about when it will happen. When people make mistakes and those languages prevent it. Doesn't need to exist to whom, depends on person to person. Yeah, so I do actually agree with you. It's clear having Rust as a memory safe programming language is good practice, is good principle. But like you say, we don't need to rewrite existing software. That's exactly how I feel about it. I'm not, again, it doesn't really matter if you do it. I'm not really fussed about it. People obviously are. It's just amazing to me, and I think this was what Sylvan Franklin said, the attention, maybe even hate or adoration or admiration for rewriting things that exist perfectly well. I think in the long run, the attention should be given to things that are novel and original. But there's obviously, a whole amount of emotion bound up in programming languages and software, which, hey, what about rewriting Cosmic in C? Well, that would upset a lot of people. When you want another Cosmic desktop? That would be funny, though. Hi, Edison. How's it going? How are you? Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you? But this tendency to rewrite exists. I think it's useful. I've always been thinking like, bro, do the real stuff. The time when it's acceptable is when people are trying to learn. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Again, these things, are clearly great gateways to taking something existing and as an exercise, seeing if you can, almost reverse engineer it in another language. But seriously, one issue some had was the new license also MIT versus GPL. Yeah, so I think UUtils is MIT, which is obviously a permissive license. And I think, was it the argument was that some people were worried that the current developers would suddenly rug pull UUtils. How funny would that be? But then somebody would have to fork it. I don't know. It is sort of crazy the amount of attention this stuff gives. Because again, I'm not literally against anybody learning, creating. People who create tools in another language is great, but there's so much like emotion bound up. So many people like about the programming language, or making a point that it's written in a memory safe language when the thing, if you're looking at it in theoretical terms, it's obvious that anything memory safe is good practice. But a lot of this is sort of, it's like bound up in emotion, like the whole UUtils thing, as we've seen. It's like bound up in emotion that, you know, it's written by Rust. So it's written in Rust rather than any kind of, I don't know. It's clearly more going on here than just trying to write good software. People are still arguing about MIT versus GPL or BSD versus GPL. I think it's more of a philosophical viewpoint if you're a single developer. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. All I'd say with GPL v3, it does seem nice that there is like consistency there. But in practice, are the UUtils people suddenly going to rug pull UUtils? I don't know. I mean, stranger things have happened. Of course, corporations will be using MIT since it's very permissive, but I get the viewpoint of GPL advocating people and BSD people. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's been said often, isn't it? MIT type licenses are nice for corporations because it gives them options. It's almost like a get out clause of obligations to the code, to the user. But it gives, you know, corporations, legal department a chance to not worry about the company working on a project. And maybe that's a good thing if you want, you know, certain corporations in development, which can be clearly can be useful. But of course, any corporation is obviously self-interest first. And you know, if the consequence of their self-interest is to the benefit of your users, that's great, but that's not always the case, of course. Yeah, so I mean, TTYSH is GPL. Yeah, so Edison, it's kind of, it sounds like a rom-com. It's complicated. So I've got 3 laptops, right? Which is not ideal because I've gone down different tangents if you've watched my channel. So the testing laptop that I'm streaming on now is running Arch Linux. My old main laptop is running Artix Linux. We've run it instead of systemd. But my main laptop now is unironically, don't laugh, but a 32-bit ThinkPad running Hyperbola Linux. And Hyperbola is the Arch, sorry, it's Pacman package manager with modified Debian packages, I think. I can't remember. I did a stream or video on it, I think. I think it was my last video, actually, one of my last videos, recent videos, installing Hyperbola on a virtual machine. So I'm running that on bare metal on a third laptop, 32-bit. So yeah, unironically, my main laptop is 32-bit Linux desktop, and it's running a Hyperbola Linux. So yeah, see, I'm not faking it out. You know, I actually, when I say about certain things, I mean to do it. You know, so running like TTYSH, I'm not just making this project for the sake of it. I actually used this for years, and that's why I'm testing the config file now and trying to set it up for other people to use it. That's why when I've talked about certain principles, you know, like free software in light of the world we live in now and software. That's why I run that 32-bit Linux operating system. I run LibreBoot, a free software Wi-Fi card, and Hyperbola Linux, which is of course Libre. So yeah, in a way, I'm using Arch on all three computers. Void Linux. Yeah, I've never used Void Linux. It looks kind of cool though. It was always funny because Luke Smith used Void Linux for a year or so, many years ago, before he used Arch and then Artix. Now, just to say, I've been in the background. I've just been doing a bit more testing. I had to update Sorry, I had to run the config again on my TTYSH testing build, and for whatever reason, probably because it timed out, it didn't install Yay package manager. So I ran it again, and now we've got Yay package manager, which then installed things like Browse, web browser, and all that. So I might just share my screen. And show you some of the. So as you can see, this is Browse, which I have done a video on before, and this is in the TTY. This isn't on X11, as you can guess. Now I can't remember the. So I'm going to do Control Q. I can't actually remember Browse's. I can't actually remember Browse's. Yeah, I can't remember Browse's shortcuts. So let's have a look. I think I've been brainwashed on this minimalistic software propaganda since the time I've been studying in university. Yeah, it is kind of propaganda. I mean, I think if you like watch anybody serious about Linux, though, it is very much what you want to use. You know, I could make all the arguments in the world about why I use something and maybe why you should use something as well. But ultimately, again, kind of going back to what we're talking, the beauty of Linux is what you make it, right? That's really the only argument, I think, is worth having. But I do think advocating for novel approaches, ideas in Linux is preferable. Again, I'm not saying it's the greatest project in the world. It probably is. I'm joking. But TTYSH is, like my novel approach to the Linux desktop without using a Linux desktop or technically a window manager. Almost maybe nobody wants to use it. Maybe some people like it. Maybe some people make it their regular desktop experience. But again, it's what works for you. Really, the only thing that matters. The whole point of getting away from Windows might be your favorite experience on a desktop. But the thing with Windows is you'll never get the choice. It might just so happen to be your best experience. But even if it isn't, even if it is, you don't get the choice. That's what you're given. The whole point of Linux is you have the choice to have whatever you want. You might end up back at Windows because Windows is your favorite or Mac is your favorite. But the point is you've got the option. Windows doesn't give you that option. And I think that's the great thing with Linux and BSDs, I guess. Browse web browser. I can't remember the help page on Browse. That's why I'm having to look it up on here. And this is TTYSH using X11, of course, using LibreWolf. More right, so I can't remember docs. As you can guess, I don't actually use Browse that much because it's not necessarily key bindings. F1 opens documentation, scrolling, focus Euro, Control L. Okay. Toggles between user agent, close tab, Control T. Okay. Let's go back. Try this again. And the thing is, I can actually search if I want to. Sorry, when I say search, I can do it from TTYSH, but I'm just going to load this up if it loads up. Right, let's go to my website. There you go, TTYSH on my website. Can't remember how to get a link. Can I use F1 on this? No. F1. Can't remember how to send keys. So terrible with this stuff. I use virtual machines for testing, but I never remember how to do half the stuff. It should be easier then, surely. I don't know. What does print do? You should be able to send any key. I don't know. Don't know. Anyway, I'm just going to quit out of that if it lets me. Let's try searching. Where do I want to go? Internet. So, search. Find. Oh, there we go. W for web search. Okay. So if I'm in X11, it should search on LibreWolf, or I think it might give you the option, maybe not with Browse, and you're searching on TTYSH in the TTY or in the Linux console, it should just open Browse, I think. So let's put in, well, actually, I know it sounds ironic. Let's just search Google. Now, I'm not on Google. This is on Search, I think. So it's loading up Browse. There you go. And then on Search, there you go, is Google. And then if I want to, can't remember how to. Whatever. How do I actually go on something? I think I need like Vim Vixen or Vimium or whatever it is. Just yeah, it's not great. You basically have to do the whole URL. You know what? The more I think about it, I'm just going to get rid of Browser thing. Just go with links. It just, I don't know. It's just not. It's just not it. So if I go S to start up X11 and I run TTYSH and I do WE for web search, and I could choose Firefox at LibreWolf because Browse uses Firefox, so technically I've got Firefox installed, I believe. LibreWolf is obviously a fork of Firefox, but I'm just going to do LibreWolf. And again, if I do Google, you get a search, web search. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to save my website in a bookmark, and I'm going to export the bookmark toolbar to, doesn't really matter, to save it there. Right, now if I export those bookmarks, maybe that's what I need to do. I need to put my website in there. Don't know. Okay, if I export these to HTML and I'll do this, okay, just leave that as bookmarks. Come out of that. If I go back down to, right, so if I type BOO, this again, this is in TTYSH, right? And it asks you, if I move this out of the way. So this is formatting your bookmark so you can open a bookmark. Sorry, yeah, you can open a bookmark from TTYSH basically, okay? So, so I want the one I've just saved, testing, TTYSH, no, not that one. Why did I save it in TTY? Yeah, I must have done. Right, so I want that one. So I've hit enter. So it's now formed. So if I type BO, as you see, there's my bookmark. Okay. So if I now select that bookmark, or open up Browse, there you go. It loads my website. Now you can of course manually update that file wherever it's saved. I can't remember where it's saved. It did tell me. This is the thing. My program does tell me what it's doing, and I can't remember where it was. I think it saves in resources. I might be wrong. I don't know. Is it here? Oh, here we go. Saved it in home. So I could add anything here, right? I could add https://google.co.uk or https://youtube.com. Okay. Now, if I went into, so if I TTYSH, and obviously with TTYSH, what you do is you would shortcut it. So I can add, you'd put it in like the bash RC with an alias, sorry. So like literally like the letter T, that's what I do. So I type the letter T and then that runs TTYSH. Which I think there isn't a problem running that from bash RC. I know with bash RC it can be a bit funny running certain things. I can't remember. I'm sure I've had an issue with it before, but maybe that's some more testing I need to do. So again, let's go into X11. And if I run this like so, I'll type BO. There we go, got my website, got Google. Let's just run my website again, and I can choose whatever. I use LibreWolf, else use LibreWolf. There we go. It's taking its time. That's a virtual machine rather than my website. My computer rather than anything else. There we go, and I just come out of that. Next, to come out of X11. There we go. Sharing for a minute. Well, right now I'm only using Slackware and Blackbox. Blackbox, isn't that like what's that window manager or desktop environment or whatever is it called? I can't remember. I don't know. I need to look at that. More optimal and safer. All right, I've never seen this before. Open source minimal desktop environment. Show you people what I'm looking at. Blackbox. Never heard of this. Oh, so it's security orientated. So it's what, a bit like Kali and was it Parrot Linux or whatever? Interesting. Never heard of it. Oh, it looks interesting. WM Blackbox window manager. Oh. Oh, okay. I see now. I mean this. Wow, that is a long time since it's been updated. So why are you, out of curiosity, not criticism, why are you still using Blackbox? Is it just what you like? I'm guessing it's what you like, or you wouldn't be using it, even though it hasn't been updated. Right. Okay. Interesting. There's any images of it. Really? OpenBox hasn't been updated in 10 years? Wow, I had no idea. I mean, I'm not a big fan of OpenBox, but I assumed it was reasonably popular as a sort of minimal. I don't know. I mean, is OpenBox really a window? What is OpenBox? It is a window manager, isn't it? It's got its menu hidden in, like, if you right click or whatever. Fluxbox and OpenBox are based on Blackbox. Oh, okay. Their official website is almost dead. Oh dear. You won't get that with TTYSH. Always maintained. What was it? The text top environment. The text top environment. Okay, guys, I have things to take care of. I must leave. Bye bye. See ya. See ya. STR split. Thanks for dropping by. Let me know how you get on with TTYSH if you play around with it. I do need to pull out my other laptop in a minute and do some modification, because that's actually where I do my actual work on this project. Just testing it in a VM at the moment. So I'll just do that. I'm not going, by the way, don't worry. All 6 of you, 5 of you. Any other Linux news of note? What else is happening in the Linux world? You know, now that I run, is it Hyperbola? I don't literally exist in the Linux world, if you like. I'm like the only person who uses it. Me and like 2 other people. And I just laugh. I laugh at all the Linux news because none of it affects me. Even Arch Linux doesn't really affect me anymore. Certainly desktop environments don't affect me. I've got a feeling I should maybe I should do my own like Linux journalism. Bcache FS being removed. Oh yeah, that was quite funny. Yeah, I did see that. I didn't know what to make of that really. Was it Kent Overstreet? Because in a way, I mean, talking about things that don't affect anybody, obviously there's technically users of Bcache FS, but it's like probably the same number of people who run Hyperbola Linux. And of course, I run 32-bit Hyperbola Linux, so I'm like in a minority of 1. But in all seriousness, I didn't understand like the adversarial nature of that guy. Now I know there were arguments made that he was treated exceptionally to other people who broke the code of conduct in the Linux kernel, but I don't know. It just seemed like I don't even know if it was like his personality rather than he was trying to. I don't know. Maybe he was trying to get on like the Linux news train, like stand out. Like, how can I make? You know, you got ext4, you got BTRFS or whatever, ButterFS, whatever it's called. You know, how can I get attention? I know I'll annoy Linus Torvalds. That's how I get people to use Bcache FS. I don't know. Maybe that's just a cynic. It just seemed like strange behavior. Because let's be honest about it. For like Linux desktop, certainly, and I know, I mean, maybe Bcache. I don't know. I don't know if Bcache is aimed at like enterprise or like, you know, big storage systems like was it ZFS and others, or XFS, whatever those, you know, file systems, storage systems for like, you know, corporations, huge data centers or whatever. I got an impression that Bcache FS was just a like desktop environment type file system. You know, if somebody's got like, I don't know, terabyte hard drive or something, and you just sort of wonder, maybe cynically, it's like how I maintain this project. Yeah, I think it's, let's say, I think it's a really good file system, right? I maintain this file system, but how do I don't know, how can I rise above quite a dull thing for maybe a lot of desktop Linux users? I know I mean, maybe not, maybe, but there's certain news outlets that would cover friction with Linus Torvalds, right? And if you keep getting told not to do sending patches or whatever, or sending your what do you call it, you know, like merge requests or whatever before the window, you know, you're obviously looking for, you know, to provoke. I think if you keep getting told and you keep getting told, it'll get removed if you don't, you know, change your behavior. But, you know, everybody now knows, you know, in the Linux world knows bcachefs because of this drama. Does that mean they'll use it? Maybe there's a handful of people curious. I mean, doesn't mean, certainly for me, I don't think, oh, I want to use bcachefs. It probably isn't even like Hyperbola's options for a file system. Well, I don't know, actually, probably not. But, well, of course, if it's the old LTS Linux kernel that I use, probably doesn't have it in it, because, of course, it was in the Linux kernel. I don't know. I just use ext4. Now, it's a cliche, and I'm sure it's been fixed in recent years, but some years ago, not that many years ago, I did use Btrfs because of how great it is, you know, the snapshots you could have on time shift. It broke on me. Yeah, it broke. Famous last words, but I've had no problem with ext4 for my desktop. So, but I'm sure Btrfs is great now. I don't know. Who cares anyway? I mean, if you're a Linux desktop person, what does it matter? Yeah, things mostly check some snapshots. And of course, I think Btrfs, you can like do compression on it. Is that right? Good. OpenZFS for my NAS. Nice. But that's fast. I presume it's fast. You've got a NAS. That's right, isn't it? NAS is fast, isn't it? Yeah. But anyway, bcachefs. Who's going to remember it now? Because it's outside the kernel, right? New versions of the kernel. So got to use what, DKMS modules or whatever to run it. And obviously it's got to be, that's got to be sort of packaged by the distributions, like hooks, or I don't know, can't remember. Again, it's something I have so little investment in, but it's interesting to hear this stuff. Of course, I don't know about you guys, I hear most of this stuff from Brodie Robertson. I guess it's on like Phoronix and stuff like this, but that's how I usually hear about this stuff. Just say, look, I'm still using my old main ThinkPad. This is where I do the actual development of TTYSH, because this is where I've got it hooked up to GitHub from the command line to push changes. Well, I use mirrored hard drives for some more redundancy, I guess. Mirrored hard drives. Cool. Good idea. Linus has some issues with RISC-V developers wanting to implement big endian instructions or something. Yeah, I saw that. Wasn't it like a Google developer? Was it where he said like his code was junk or something? That's funny, isn't it? Because again, not being a developer, I don't really know this stuff properly. Of course, the big endian, or was it little endian, was of course like a big issue back in the day in like what, the 1970s, because it's like, was it bit shift and all this kind of stuff? So you would like have the big endian because that would be like, I can't remember. I learned this from like Dr. Chuck, and I can't remember any because again, it's one of those things where it doesn't really, unless I guess you're a developer and you're using like embedded systems. I don't even know. It's so like doesn't affect you. You don't have to worry about big endian or little endian if you're just like some desktop user who does like scripts. But I guess RISC-V's like smaller instruction set, isn't it? So I guess maybe it's a big issue. I don't know. Goes to show you how ignorant I am, really. I kind of know this stuff, but I don't. But I can get the information on it. You have managed to install TTY toolkit before? The toolkit as in the config? Yeah, I've installed it before. I'm just doing some testing. Yeah, so it's like, sorry, to jump back and forth. So yeah, big endian was like they wanted to save CPU cycles, or RAM or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, you had to like, I'm sure it was like you had to bit shift stuff so you could get like a string of text, right? So a string of text would all be like out of order. So you'd do like bit shifting, and if you used big endian, it meant that it was like easier to do or something. It's just like a whole other world to me. Yeah, so TTYSH, yes, I have installed the toolkit before, but this is also why I'm doing some testing on the config. So I'm cloning like virtual machines on my testing machine to test the installation of the config, whether it's setting up things correctly. So I'm finding bugs, issues. So like I'm just about to push a change to the GitHub. So I'll tell you what, I'll show you what I push. That's how exciting this is. Wow, it's like a real developer environment, this. Low order byte reverse, don't remember. Yeah, that's it. That sounds right. Sounds like you do actually know more than me. But I guess if we watched maybe I should do that one time. Maybe anytime something comes up, we should do some research on it. But the problem I always find with things like this is it's all good and interesting to understand it, try and learn it, but again, it's like lost in time, isn't it? Really, for most people, it's not something I'm guessing you'd have to deal with now. And if you don't practice it, or like a B instead of a B, A in hex, yeah, because of course, didn't they like encode stuff in hex and all kinds of stuff, and that, I don't know. You got to save the bits, right? A string of text printed would be like too much memory or cycles or something. I'm sure that's what Dr. Chuck said. I should have listened to Dr. Chuck properly. I'd use capital A as a shortcut for 10, 10 in binary, right? Yeah, so it's like, I guess, encoding and bit shifting and all this kind of stuff to speed, save memory. I don't know, fewer characters, right? Sure. Yeah. I'm sure I had stuff, yeah, stuff to do with like strings of text as well. Like if you printed a string of text to the screen a certain way, saying like C programming language. Nowadays, it's not a big issue, but maybe back in the day, you know, printing a string wasn't so easy. So you'd like do bit shifting or big endian and small endian, and I don't know, and like certain instruction sets would do it easier than others. So like I don't know, like a mainframe computer would be great, but like one of the early personal computers or whatever, you wouldn't have like the memory or something, so you'd have to like do bit shifting and all kinds. I don't really know. You can tell I don't really know. It's still interesting. All right, let's push the change. There you go. Right, so exciting developer moment. Huh. There you go. My first change of the day. Where did I change? Something in resources. Where did I change? 6 minutes. Here we go. So when I had that issue with the split screen, I could have just gone history, show you the change, I think. Is that right? Here we go, screen RSS fix. So for some reason I had this resources, whatever, pulling stuff. I don't know why. Didn't need it, because the whole point of this was just to have a shell. I'm pretty sure. So that when I split the screen now, so show you here, TTYSH, I do R, and if I want a split screen for my RSS feed, I don't know why, but you might do. Now you just get the top split with my RSS feed, Newsboat, and then the bottom with a shell, a bash shell, right? I think that's right. No. There you go. So you just switch between, okay, whatever. There we go. Exit that. Exciting, right? Crazy development this is. Now the Browsh issue, I don't think I had an issue in the end. It was just that Browsh didn't install because Yay didn't install, because I think it timed out. Maybe I should look at stopping Yay from time, or installation of Yay from time, or sudo timing out. I don't know. Don't know. Thing is, you can always run the config again, which is what I did. If you're wondering what I'm talking about TTYSH. I think Sun machines use big endian. Yeah, I think Dr. Chuck said there was a reason to use one or the other. But I can't remember. What he said. Maybe I should get a video. Maybe I should get video. Dr. Chuck. anyways, loads of obviously videos on YouTube, but what does Wikipedia say? Big endian or Indianness. Yeah, of course, it would depend on the machine bit, wouldn't it? It's like a lot of those old computers weren't 32-bit even, were they? I was thinking about it. TTYSH is actually maybe in a half decent place. So maybe tomorrow I will do like a live stream install of it and using it. Don't know if that's risky though. I think I will. I think it's in a good place. I think a lot of TTYSH now is just like design decisions, stuff that I don't know doesn't really need to be added, or sorry, doesn't need to be or needs to be removed. Not sure. I know one thing I need to do. I've just done another update on TTYSH, just a little change to the help page. I'll probably leave it there in a minute. So if anybody else has got any questions or wants to talk about anything, don't hesitate before I go. I think I'll be on again tomorrow, possibly to demonstrate installing TTYSH on a clean Arch build, setting it up, and sort of going through some things, maybe. I don't know. It's not really, in a way, again, it's not too much to say about it. You just sort of use it. Just sort of use it. I think what I will do as well is I will demonstrate using as much as possible of it, but I don't know. Maybe I'll just keep it simple. Yeah, so I think I'll leave it there, guys, because did a bit of testing, had a little chat. That was cool. Yeah, I think I'll be on tomorrow. Finally, officially demonstrate TTYSH, which really is just amounting to installing it, doing the config, git clone it, doing the config, and yeah, and I'll probably cut that into a video. Be funny if anybody uses it. But yeah, if you do use it, if any 5 of you on here do use it, don't hesitate to put any issues in the GitHub issues, and I don't know, maybe you got some ideas for it. Put in a merge request. There we go. All right, guys, have a good one, and I'll hopefully see you tomorrow. If not, take care. See you later.